end of an era as Birmingham's last brewery closes. Record fines for hostile after hygiene offences, and all the way from Bondi to Brunt, just to say, I do. Hello, good evening. Our main story tonight. The Davenport's brewery in Birmingham is to close with the loss of 100 jobs. Welcome back. Next Monday, a brand new news service begins for viewers in the south of the Central region. Central News South will serve Oxfordshire, Gloucestershire and parts of Buckinghamshire, Hereford and Worcester and North Wiltshire. It's costing £5 million to put the programmes on screen. So what was the original idea behind Central News South?
Coming together of two things. One, the technology is now available to us, and two, we've just finished a 2-year survey into the way we've been covering that part of the region. Now, I think they've had not a very good deal over the past few years there. It's inevitable, I suppose, because this is a very vast region.
That was just 6 months ago, when the news service was merely an idea. But now, stand by for the first ever broadcast from Central News South. Since the plans for Central South were finalised last July, teams of builders, architects, technicians and journalists have been working flat out to bring the region the news service it deserves. We'll broadcast programmes 5 nights a week from our main studio in Abingdon near Oxford, which will be supported by news centres in Swindon, Aylesbury and our new complex in Gloucester.
This will be the only office in the Central South region where you can actually hear seagulls. And it's from here that we'll be covering the stories as they happen in Herefordshire, Worcestershire and Gloucestershire. Our studio is equipped with the latest news gathering technology to make sure the news reaches you fast. More about that a little later on. In the meantime, back to Abingdon.
As you can see, we're ready for programmes here in Abingdon too. This is the world's most advanced television news centre, and as you can imagine, it's been a mammoth task to equip it fully in just 6 months. First, we had to find a suitable site. The Abingdon Business Park was chosen, and once that was confirmed, in came the builders. They had to race against the clock to transform this shell of a building into a sophisticated television studio. More than 10 miles of cabling had to be laid down underneath the floor tiles, and the equipment had to be tested, especially as much of it is being used for the first time. One of the major new developments to be installed is the NewStar computer. In some ways, the computer can actually run the whole studio, can't it?
Not quite, but it goes a long way towards doing that. For example, we have the Betacart machine, which is made by Sony. The computer control of it can actually run the running order, can allocate the correct tape to the correct stories. And if the producer would like to change the story, or there's a new story coming in, he can change the running order, and all the tapes for that programme will be changed automatically in seconds.
And why aren't there any camera operators in the studio?
As you see, there's not much room for them, but we've gone through for a level of automation in studio robotics that hasn't been seen in this country before. You see how the cameras can be controlled from a control panel within the production gallery. Within the next 3 months, we hope very much to have this linked up to NewStar, whereby the director can put in his shot as the scripts are produced, and the computer will recognise that, and the camera will point in the right direction at the right presenter.
Is it all going to work?
Yes.
Our plan is that much of what appears on screen should emphasise that Central News South is the news service for the 90s, 1 year early. The man who's responsible for the programme's image is Les Halliday, our senior graphics designer.
Everything's put onto computer via Paintbox or a digital library system. As opposed to paper, so no paper's used whatsoever.
It's all electronic.
All electronic graphics.
What's Paintbox?
Paintbox is a very complex machine, but simply it will create pictures by using a pen, a stylus, and drawing pictures, as we would have done conventionally on paper, but onto a computer screen, and will actually imitate realistically the drawing hand by paint or airbrush, or drawing graphics just by drawing on a screen as opposed to drawing on paper.
What exactly does this machine do?
This machine is basically a digital effects, video effects machine that will actually manipulate and rotate pictures around the screen.
Can you show us how it works?
Yeah, sure. We just select any particular pre-programmed format of a programmed move, and then we just have to press start and run. Simple as that.
Well, the tricks are all very well, but how do we actually go about bringing the news itself to your screens? John Kane explains.
Central's new home in Gloucester Docks is in an old British Waterways office. Now, don't tell too many people, but we haven't quite finished renovating it yet, but that doesn't stop us covering stories.
Hello, Central South. Claire Lafferty speaking. Oh, hi, yes. Yeah, the Waterways Museum. Yeah, well, I think we've got a crew down there at the moment. Tim Hurst, our reporter's down there doing a piece on the steam
opened
dredger.
officially in the summer. Its aim is to preserve a lifestyle that would disappear if someone didn't take the responsibility of preserving not only the history, but the machinery as well.
Well, we're now on a steam-driven bucket dredger, which until 7 years ago used to dredge the Sharpness to Gloucester Canal.
On board the dredger, Tim is being recorded by Louise Reed Daunter, a new breed of multi-skilled technician who goes out on stories and who is also able to edit videotapes back at base. And it's this flexibility which will allow Central South to react very quickly to news.
Through to the interview with Alan Garnett and butt the interview straight in. Right.
Back at the office, the report is put together by the video editor, Tim Hughes.
Well, Alan Garnett, you're one of the friends of the dredger. If she retired 7 years ago, what does the job now?
Well, this dredger was replaced in 1982 with a diesel-electric driven dredger of a similar type called the Thomas Fletcher, which does the job now.
When Tim's report is completed, it's played down the line to Abingdon. At the other end, it's re-recorded, ready for transmission.
Once the story is ready for transmission, someone has to present it. That's the job of our main presenter, who will soon become a very familiar face to Central News viewers. What makes Central News South different from anything we've seen before?
I think the first thing about it is that what we've done here is to take a section of the area which is currently being covered by Birmingham, and it's getting a much more regional service. It's a much smaller area than has been covered before, and therefore we'll be getting out and about in the villages, in the various towns much more.
And the studios themselves are quite different, aren't they, here?
Yes, I think the programme will look different to the public. It'll look perhaps much sharper, more modern. And for us, it'll feel very different. I mean, my job in particular is going to be completely different from the job of any presenter, and very different from the jobs I've done before. Most presenters, as you know, are used to being in a room full of people. Each camera has a cameraman operating it. Traditionally, we would have a couple of other people, floor managers in the studio, generally sort of making sure the camera's all in the right place and so on. We've got an incredibly high-tech studio here, and all the cameras are completely remote, and I'll be sitting all on my own in the studio, and relying completely on the people in the gallery, who are the button pushers, to give me all the directions that I will need.
Of course, we'll also bring you all different types of sports, some of which you may not have seen before. And there'll also be a new-look computerised weather service. So there you are. We're all ready, and hope you'll join us next Monday at 6 and every night from now on for Central News South.
Well, believe it or not, the FA Cup competition started back in August.
And the Davenport Brewery in Birmingham is to close with a loss of 100 jobs. The end of an era, and indeed the end of another era, as we say goodbye, finally, to many of our viewers south of Bromsgrove. We thank you for your support over the years and hope you enjoy the news service that's coming to you on Monday. From us, for now, good night.
Good night.